Hi friends, this is Pranav Botti. As part of ITC 686 Big Data Analytics class, I'm going to give a presentation on what query we are going to process on the big data system. So, if you have watched our previous video, my teammate Kanaya has presented a video about how data is brought into our system and also how data is stored either with serialization, deserialization, or vertical partitioning. So now me Pranav is going to present how the query is going to be processed. Okay, coming on, let's move on to our presentation. The query. We are going to have the query. I'm going to process list list all contributors with number of times they have contributed. So our data is, as you know, our data is about wiki data which we have downloaded from the publicly available large wiki dumps. It's about all the Wikipedia data, like when the data is revised, or timestamp of data, who is the contributor name and the contributor ID, and all the stuff. So I'm processing a query of list all contributors with number of times they have contributed. Like here you can see the in output is contributor name and also the number of times. Here for example it is Riz 5 times, Leah 3 times, San 7, 4. This kind of output is expected with the query I'm going to give. So let's actually move on to the implementation of query, how I'm going to implement. Before that, we will be knowing certain things like data or on our data set, it's actually converted into batch views. First, it was our raw data in the XML format. Then we have converted into .csv, the comma separated file. And now we are doing batch views with storing the data into tables. We're using Hive tool to process the data and get the processing of query. Particularly Hive because one who has some background in SQL or RDBMS, Hive becomes an easy part for him. So, okay, before going to that, let's see a pipe diagram, how our data gets interacted with the Hive tool and the query is processed. So, first the batch views is done, the tables are, data is stored into tables, external tables, and now the tables are given as the input. So once when the tables are given as input, we are grouping the data by contributor name. So the data can be like contributor name, suppose as we saw in Reese, and number of times you have contributed, will be mapping the value to 1. So whenever Reese has appeared in contributors list, it will be Reese, 1, 1, 1, 1. As number of times he has appeared, the value increases. And now this input is given to the aggregate function count. So this count will be doing the summation of all these values 111 and makes it total number of count, how many times actually it has appeared. And the output will be contributor's name and how many times the count, the value count, how many times he has appeared. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, types of batch views. We are speaking about like the types of batch views. That is, our data is loaded into external tables that are created in Hive. Why particularly external? Because when you delete some table in Hive, only the Hive definition gets deleted. That is, only the metadata gets deleted, but not the data actually. Whereas in internal tables, you will get the data to be deleted and also the metadata. Okay, so coming to this now, we'll be creating table with required fields such as ID, contributor name, contributor ID, timestamp, which are required for us. We will be doing that with the command in Hive. We will be doing this actually with create external table Wikidata, some ID with some data type int, contributor name as It will be string, the data type will be string, contributor ID will be ID integer, timestamp with time with the format of date time, and also location where we want to store this table, the same data of the table. That is, now here initially I'm storing in project data raw. In that folder I'm going to store, and with the format of how we are going to store the data is comma separated in the tables too. So moving on to the next slide, we'll be doing approach how we are going to do this. So in our query processing we are using Hive tool. As I said, Hive is best for SQL and one who has RDBMS background for him. Okay, let's move on to the query, actual query now. Hive query. This is my query. As you can see on screen, it is select contributor name, comma, count contributor name from Wikidata, group by contributor name. Here the contributor name is actually the name which we saw, Riz, Joe, Sam, and also the count of contributor is the number of times the name has appeared. There is 111, and which will be at last in the end that will be calculated from the table Wikidata. And also we are grouping this by the name, by the contributor name, so that we get our task achieved. To complete or to get this task to be achieved, we need to group this data with the contributor's name. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Once if we check out like how we can do this in map reduce framework, that is, we will be first initially giving the records as input, and then we will be emitting each record with key as contributor name. The contributor name will be the key, and value will be the mapping value will be 1, because every time a contributor name appears it maps to 1, and finally we can get the count of that, how many times he has appeared. So once this output is given as input to the reduce function, that is the key, contributor, and value 1, the actual calculations takes place in reduce, in function reduce. So function reduce will be doing emitting the key which is the contributor name and also sum of this count. This can be achieved through map reduce framework in this way. Okay, next move we'll move on to next slide. Why we have chosen Hive? The advantages of Hive over the other pig or map reduce framework are Hive best suits for ad hoc queries. That is ad hoc queries in the sense the purpose, the meaningful and purposeful query we are giving. And also Hive has engine that stores and partitions data. As we have discussed earlier, that is the vertical partitioning and other things. Hive stores the data and also the partitions of data, which makes easy for queries. And also it is easy for joins too. We can have join function easily aggregated or implemented in Hive. Okay, what are the disadvantages of Hive? The disadvantages are it's not easy for complex business logic. If you have big complex business logic, it's not easy to deal with, or only it deals with the structured data. It doesn't deal with the unstructured data. Coming to the next slide, why not MapReduce? Okay, we are since discussing since a long time MapReduce and how to, why not MapReduce? So MapReduce takes a long time to develop the MapReduce code, and it's a kind of difficult to learn. And also it's hard to achieve the join functionality. We cannot easily achieve the join functionality. But there are points to consider the MapReduce too. Why we need to use MapReduce? That is, it works both on structured and unstructured data. We need not worry if our data is not structured. And also it suits to the complex business logics. For complex business logic, we cannot use Hive, but whereas we can use MapReduce over there. Coming to the next slide. Okay, here we go. I can make the whole in a summary. I can summarize in this way. Like we are using Hive as we have some background in SQL and RDBMS because we already have background roots in that, and it makes us easy to process our query. And also we are dealing with structured data because our data is already structured. We have converted it from XML format to some structural comma separated file, and we have created external tables and stored data, which makes us easy for processing. And as obtained our result, we can see you can see the result here. Like we can get Riz 5, Leo 3, San 7, and Joe 4. This is what we get with the query of how to list contributors with number of times they have contributed. And finally, I would like to say you all thank you for watching, and for any queries you can mail us on BOTTI1P @cmich.edu.